Okay, today we will be going over chapter 2, segment 2, pages 50 through 57, and we'll begin with adaptation and learning. And here we are introduced to instrumental conditioning, in which humans and animals perform behaviors that increase fitness, and it stresses the importance of reward. An example of this is when humans depend on social cooperation, and babies depend on their parents for food and essentially everything. We then move on to the law of affect, which also includes instrumental conditioning, and the relationship between a behavior and its outcome is known as RO. And an important case is called reward learning, where a behavior processes and produces a good outcome, and in this case, the behavior produces and increases in strength. We then go on to punishment and punisher, when a punishment happens when a behavior leads to a consequence or something bad, or a bad outcome is known as the punisher. So in comparison to punishment and punisher, we go to avoidance learning, which is a specific behavior prevents something from happening, and this behavior often increases in its strength. Then we move on to escape learning, which is a behavior ending an event because it is present. And there's also omission training, which means that a behavior prevents something good from happening in comparison to all of this. Then we come to review again the law of affect, which states that instrumental behaviors are controlled by their consequences. Then we now move on to reinforcement, which means a relationship between a response and its outcome. The strength of response should increase, and there are two types of reinforcements known as positive and negative reinforcement. Positive reinforcement enforces a good outcome, which includes the process of reward, while negative reinforcement is not the same as punishment, but it's simply the removal of a stimulus. We then move on to the process of shaping, which is the process of reinforcing a new behavior until it's achieved. For example, parents tend to shape their children to say their first word, known as mama or dada. And this shaping process can also be moved on to explicit shaping techniques, which have been used for autism and schizophrenia. And we move on to classical conditioning, which everyone should know about the experiment of Pavlov and his dogs. But classical conditioning is just another form of learning with adaptations, and it allows animals to identify and find food, but this also helps them to avoid poisonous substances. And going off poisonous substances, this leads us to taste aversion learning, which is when taste is paired with sickness and it is causing the organism to reject the substance or the taste that it has. So, an important experiment that should be noted is John Garcia and his experimentation with rats and vinegar. And we now go on to territoriality and reproduction. And here we have the stressing and the importance of sexual behavior is important to survival and fitness. And we have Karen Hollis here, who is known for conditioning her blue gourami fish in social cues to a female entering the territory. And she also conditions them to a red light to defend their territory and when males enter their space.